Hey everybody, Pretty Girl Politics. Today is just me doing videos, and my co-host Case is not here today. This is Autumn. You know, she had a family emergency, and so I decided to go ahead and just go ahead and cover some topics that's been going on, because honestly, this couldn't wait, you guys. Not on my end, this couldn't wait. So I'm gonna get into the topics. Okay, you guys, so this whole situation with Dwayne Wade, D Wade from, you know, you guys know him from the NBA, pro basketball player, I think recently retired or whatever. The whole situation with his son recently coming out saying that he is transgendered, and he always felt like he was a girl. And so D Wade and Gabrielle Union, they have been embracing this child, and you know, in trying to accept. Let me get away from these geese because they are loud. They're like, "You in our territory, chick." Anyway, let me get away from them so y'all can hear me. But, you know, recently, you know what I'm saying, D Wade and Gabrielle Union, they decided, okay, we're going to accept this child, love this child no matter what. And that's cool. That's fine. Right? Now, if it were me, my child would have to wait until they're 18 to start making certain changes. If it were me. Because I would want my child to give themselves an opportunity to really discover who they really are. Now, but that's his decision, and you know, I can respect other people's decision. But what really got me, and this is why I couldn't wait, you guys, to do this video, is the fact that I've been hearing and seeing videos, okay, Boosie or Bougie or whatever you call him, and other people, they're talking about how D Wade is going to allow his son to actually do gender reassignment surgery. I don't have any confirmed sources, but that's what's buzzing around. And I did see the video of little Boosie or little Bougie, whatever he called himself, or Bougie. I don't care what he called himself. I seen that video. I've seen it on other people's channels. I've seen it on YouTube, everywhere. Instagram, you name it. So apparently, unless this is a joke or a prank, this is what D Wade is going to allow his son, who he says is transgender, to do. You know? And you know, I can't stand all this traffic out here, but I still gotta get my exercise on. I just feel like a 12-year-old is a child. What does a child know about their sexuality at that age? They don't. The only thing they know is they do have attraction to whoever it is they're attracted to, whether it's male or female. They do know you know, that they may have sexual desires and things of that sort, and they may start to identify with different things. However, how many of you are the same person that you were when you were the age of 12? How many of you? No, very few people can say that they are still the same person that they were when they were 12. If I had to go back to the age of 12, I thought all kinds of things. If I had to go back to the age before 12, there were certain things that I was curious about. There were certain things that I was confused about. There were certain things that I was unsure about. There were certain things that I thought I wanted or was okay with or was feeling. But at the age that I am now, and looking back on all my other young adult years, and I'm gonna say that I'm in my 30s. My mid 30s. I would not make the same choices. I wouldn't make the same decisions. I am not the same person. I've changed. I've grown. on a lot of different levels. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You guys, and I hope D-Wade sees this. Maybe he won't, because our channel is still growing. Share it. But if anybody else out there is dealing with this situation or going through this, whether you are the person who is the young person and you think you want to be a different gender, or you think you're this, or you think you're that, I don't care what, maybe you think you want to be an alien, or you are a parent who has a child like this, understand that no matter what, you are loved. And as a parent, you may still love your child. And if you're the child yourself, you're loved. And your parents may still love you. If they don't, then, it's going to be a long journey for them, and that's okay. But let me say this. As a parent and somebody who is a follower of God, I'm not religious, but I do honor God, and I do honor God's principles and morals and values is the best I can to my human ability. It is our job as parents to guide and direct our children when they are feeling different things, when they are confused, when they are unsure, when they're curious, whatever it is, even if they think they are sure. It is our parents' jobs to give us further insight. And sure, a parent should take the time to look and try to understand their child and try to look into the issues and do the research. But at the same time, if a child comes to you and they say, hey, I think that, take them to a spiritual counselor, take them to a therapist. It's no shame in going to a spiritual counselor and or a therapist, or both, because these are things you need to talk about. If you go get cosmetic surgery, it is recommended that you go talk to a counselor or therapist. And especially when it comes to gender reassignment surgery, usually it's recommended that you go see a therapist or a counselor first, so that you can be absolutely sure that you have worked on everything that's going on inside of you, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, psychologically, so that you can be sure and more certain that this is who you really are and what you really want to do. Time is needed. But when you're young like that, there is no room to just jump to conclusions and say, oh, well, okay, my 12-year-old says this is what I am, so I'm going to go ahead and let them mutilate their body and whatnot. Or I'm going to let them go ahead and wear what they want to wear. If you want to let them wear what they want to wear, they want to dress like a girl or boy because that's what they feel they are, that's one thing, right? I wouldn't do it, because that person might look back and they might say, this is not who I really was. I thought it was. And I'm going to go further into that as well, because I can go based off of real life situations, you guys, where I have seen someone say at the time that they were at that age, this is who I am, this is who I am. And you fast forward into their adulthood and they cringe at the photos of themselves. I have a family member, you guys, a family member who, when we were at that age that D-Wade's son is right now, we were 12, 13, 14, 15, around that age, right? This family member had what we all thought was identity crisis, okay? They didn't think so. They just said, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is how I like to dress. This is what I like. Yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? They were dressing very masculine as a female. Very masculine. To the point, to the point where they would get mistaken by other, and maybe I should turn around, because look at this, y'all. This is crazy. I ain't about to walk in all that. I ain't walking in no mud. So I'm going to turn around. But they were getting identified, mistakenly identified as a male, even though they were biologically female, by other people, especially females. They were getting hit on by other girls. They were, you know, being, you know, treated some kind of way or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't understand why. And we kept telling this family member, you know, yo, it's because of the way you are dressing, the way you're carrying yourself, the way you're wearing your hair, all that stuff. But, you know, and we told them, hey, if you want people to receive you more in your feminine, you might want to be more feminine, dress more feminine, right? But they were offended because they said, no, this is who I am. So we just let them be. We let them be and accepted them as they are, right? Fast forward into our adulthood, right? Into our adulthood. We are, like I said, we're in our 30s, early to mid 30s, right? And this same family member, you guys, it's humid out here. Hair, look at a mess. This same family member, you guys, they saw a photo that an old childhood friend had shared with us, right? Shared with them, shared with me. And they were so, you guys, offended by the photo. They cringed. They cringed. And even though we were looking at the photo, the old friend, the childhood friend, and I were looking at the photo like, wow, these were good memories, great memories. The only thing this family member of mine could focus on was that their identity is not how they identified now, and they don't like how they identified back then. They didn't like how they looked. They didn't like how they dressed. They didn't, when they thought about how they behaved, they didn't like it. They didn't like it. Okay? And they honestly, like I said, they had the worst reaction to the point of offending the childhood friend. And it even disappointed me because I'm like, well, this is who you said you were. And you were very adamant about it. You were strong in your convictions about it. And even though we all questioned it and were concerned and tried to show you some sort of insight and maybe even guide you more into a direction that we thought maybe you would feel more comfortable with eventually down the line, you didn't want to do that. And so we decided to just support you as you were. Now, let's say if this family member had been like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go get transgender surgery because this is who I want to be and yada, yada, yada. Right? Today, they probably would be regretting it. And that's a real situation. Because that person is super feminine now. Super. They wouldn't be caught dead wearing what they were wearing then. They wouldn't be caught dead behaving the way they were behaving then, or even thinking the way they were thinking then. You know what I'm saying? So I'm speaking from real life experience. And if you go on YouTube, I've seen enough videos. I weren't even looking for these videos. They just so happen to get suggested to me. People who regretted getting gender reassignment surgery. People who regretted, doing the transition. Because once you fully go there, you cannot go back. It's one thing that you think, okay, this is who I am. And you decide, okay, you're going to dress that way and maybe you may behave that way. But until you know for sure that it's not a phase, and that could take years to figure out if you're already a young adult. If you're an actual adult, you didn't have probably enough time to know what it is that you want, what it is that you like. Though I still would suggest you give yourself a little time. But when you're a tween, as they call it, when you're 12 years old, you're considered a tween. 10, 11, 12, a tween. That's the before age of 18, because you're not officially a teen till you're 13. But even when you're 18, you're still 18. I'm telling you guys, the choices I would have made as an 18-year-old, a 13-year-old, compared to now as a 30-something-year-old or in my 20s, is a very different decision and choice. Very different habits, very different ways that I carry myself, very different modes, thought processes, feelings, emotions, hormones. Everything is different. So as parents, it is your job to just raise your children, raise them with a value system of whatever you were born, accept it. And this goes for anything. That's just like them rich parents that let their children get breast implants and nose jobs. That's wrong too. You guys, and some of y'all gonna say, well, that don't relate to me because I'm not rich. Doesn't matter, because there's all kind of people watching these videos. It is your job as a parent to be a parent, to guide and lead your children until it is time for them to leave the nest. So if your child was born a girl or a boy, then raise them as a girl or a boy. And if you feel that compelled to try to support your child in the way they feel, and your child feels that distressed by taking on a gender role that they don't feel belongs to them, then have them dress gender neutral, to where nobody can tell what they are. Okay? That'll be for other people to figure out. But it is our job as parents to teach our children to love themselves the way God made them, because God don't make mistakes. God don't make mistakes. And when you decide, well, okay, I'm gonna give in to that's like saying God made a mistake with your child or with you or whatever. Now, sometimes God sent us here with different challenges in life, different spiritual challenges, and maybe we're meant to take those on. But you're supposed to pray about it and meditate on it, or at least sit and think about it, talk to a counselor, talk to a therapist, and allow yourself the time to really process and figure out, how do you really feel? Is this who you really are? Especially if you're a young person. So young people, you watching this right now, don't be offended. Just understand that I am speaking, you guys. Don't be offended. Understand that I'm speaking from wisdom, knowledge, experience, and from moral values that many of us have failed to keep, maintain, teach, pass forward, because everybody is too busy trying to be in the world and be all super worldly and stuff. You guys, there is an agenda out here. You got a lot of people saying, this same tired narrative. This same tired narrative. I was born this way. Some of you may have been born that way. But there are some of you that are not born that way. Some of you may have been peer pressured. Some of you have been watching too much TV and into too much social media, and you're influenced, easily influenced. I know people that get so influenced that you can influence them to be anything. And then they change their mind later on. You have to watch out for that. There are some people who they may be experiencing, like I said, psychological issues, inner conflict, identity crisis. You know what I'm saying? Identity issues, period. I had an identity issue as a child to some degree, not to the extent that I'm looking at, D. Wade's child, but more on to the extent of children. Oftentimes they get curious. Sometimes they get envy. Sometimes they're, like I said, they're curious, or they just, children are very innocent in the world, very innocent. Sometimes they're influenced, whatever it is. I can guarantee you it. A lot of things that I thought or were curious about or experienced as a young person, and I'm still young, but I'm saying, but in my youth, as a child, as a teen, are very opposite today. Why? Because I've had time to grow, time to learn, time to experience real life for myself, time to really come into my own identity without anybody else influencing it. And there's been plenty of people to try to influence my identity. There are going to be plenty of people in this world who are going to try to influence your identity. If you're a young person, or if you're a parent, your child, they're going to try to influence your child. You guys, they're also, like I said, y'all think this is just a physical world. This is also a spiritual world. We are spiritual beings in a physical body. Okay? Whether you want to believe that or not. Doesn't matter if you believe in God. Doesn't matter if you believe in the devil. If you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything, is all I know. But for people, my people who are spiritual, or who at least have some understanding, or been to church at least once, or prayed at least once, there are so many different spirits. There's a spirit of Jezebel. There's a spirit of jealousy. There's a spirit of greed. There's all kinds of spirits. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all don't know, a spirit of Jezebel is like, it's the spirit of lust or whatever. So many different kinds of spirits of perversion. And some of y'all walking around acting like these spirits aren't, influencing people. Oh, it's real, y'all. It's real. There's a lot of different reasons. There are chemical imbalances. You guys, we're exposed to chemicals every day that affects our chemicals in our brain, chemicals that affect our food that we eat and affect our hormones in our body. I mean, you guys, pesticides on our food, GMO food. And if you guys are talking about, well, all I eat is organic, there have been news reports that expose a lot of so-called organic food is not actually being organic. They're just labeling organic so they can make more money. A lot of scams and scandals going on out there. Same thing with your so-called antibiotic-free, roam-free chickens and animals and things on farms. If you go do your research, there's a farmer who, and I hope he's still alive, reporting that these so-called roam-free chickens and range-free eggs, they're not. And he was showing all the nasty conditions they were living in and admitting that they still get some kind of drugs to deal with all the nastiness and the disease and the bacteria and things that they're exposed to that been making them sick. They just don't call them antibiotics. They call it something else so that they can pass the FDA standards. You guys, we're exposed to so many things. This is a hyper-estrogen society today. You know why? Because all the damn soybean, you guys, that is in our food. Soybean oil, just soybean, hydrogenated soybean. Look at the ingredients in your food. If you're not pulling food straight out of your backyard, out of, a garden that you have in your backyard or on your farm, or you're not raising your animals, then you don't know what you're being fed. Soy has been proven to cause human bodies to become hyperestrogen because the soy itself has phytoestrogens in it. You guys, do your research. What do you think that's going to do to your boys when they're getting all this soy in their diet? Heck, if your child is lactose free and you tell them that at school, the first thing they want to offer is soy milk. I told them, don't you give my child no soy milk. We're going to give them something else. Almond milk. Well, we're a nut-free school because apparently everybody all of a sudden is allergic to nuts. Where'd that come from? It come from all these chemicals we're exposed to in our food. Because never used to be so many people who had nut allergies, you guys. Come on. It's not normal. All the things we're exposed to. If you're getting these shots and things, what do you call them? Vaccines and stuff. Do the research. Look up all the chemicals and things that you guys are exposed to. Mercury and aluminum and, animal feces and things that they put in those vaccines and other kind of chemicals. How do you think these things are affecting your bodies? And I'm not telling you don't vaccinate your kids. But what I am trying to tell you is do your research. Do your research. Everything that we are consuming, eating, using, are these cell phones, all this Wi-Fi, this 5G, it's frying our cells, including brain. Okay, you guys, so the video cut off because I ran out of storage room on my phone. But getting back to what I was saying, like I said, all the 5G, that, we have technology with our phones and these, the Wi-Fi connections and whatnot, and the cell phones and the food we eat, chemicals exposed to, medications people are taking, just everything, you guys. All these things have an impact on your health, in a lot of ways, especially physically. They can cause people to have chemical imbalances in the brain and to have all kinds of different health issues. So these are things to consider, you guys, when you have to wonder, all of a sudden why are there so many people coming out saying that they're either gay or transgender? Everybody is not born that way, and I'm tired of hearing that same narrative, you guys, that everybody's born that way, when we all know that's just not true. It's different influences, like I mentioned before, spiritual. It's also, like I said, chemical imbalances. It may be an identity crisis or an identity issue or a psychological disorder. For others, it's going to be peer pressure. Others, it's going to be somebody could have been molested or raped. Some people could have been put in a situation where they were turned out. There's different reasons why some people have whatever issues they have identity wise, or are, bisexual or gay or transgender. I've even heard somebody say they felt like guys had it easier in life, or they felt like ladies or women had it easier in life, or they just admired the other gender so much that they wanted to be the other gender. There's so many different reasons, and that's, once again, psychological. So let's just be honest here. This is another reason why, because everybody is not born this way, why we need, when someone comes out and say, hey, I'm this or that, we need to, I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt, but we should take it seriously and say, okay, all right, you think you're this or you think you're that, or you say you're this or you say you're that. Okay, let's talk about it. And everybody do their research, and everybody does the inside work. The inside work, meaning you sit down and you talk about it. You talk with a counselor, whether it's a spiritual counselor or a therapist or both. I recommend both. And you discuss this with, the people you care about the most, if you're coming out to somebody, or if or whatever, what I'm saying, or you discuss it in a community group of people who are like you or similar, or may have the same curiosity if they are that way. And then, and then you allow time, you meditate on it, you pray on it, and you allow time to tell if this is really what you are, especially if you are a young person, a child, or a teen. Adults may not, struggle with this nearly as much, because when you're adult, what I study psychology, and what we do know is past the age of 26, most people are who they're going to be psychologically, because their brain is already developed, fully developed. Before that, 26 and before, that's still a period of potential confusion, and it's definitely a period of growth. Now, you're going to have growth beyond the age of 26, but for the most part, your ways are going to be set in terms of who you are as a person. Whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you choose to go along with it or not. You know what I'm saying? But any age 26 and before, the brain is not truly fully developed. Meaning you have time from childhood to 26 to still change in a lot of different ways due to a lot of different things: chemicals, hormones, life experiences, spiritual experiences. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to say this once again, D-Wade, if you're watching, or any parent out there, if your child comes to you and say, Mommy or Daddy, I think I am meant to be the opposite gender, or I think I am gay, bisexual, lesbian, whatever it is, transgender, whatever, say, okay, let's talk about this. Don't shame them. Don't embarrass them. Don't humiliate them. And no, don't try to force them to be anything they're not. But at the same time, as a parent, it is your responsibility to set some rules, and let them know you love them, but you need to raise them to be what they are according to how God created them. When they become 18 and they're out on their own, then they can go and do what it is they want to do, and that will be between them and God. But if you're absolutely adamant that you have to support your child, then support them in being gender neutral until at least, now to me, in my opinion, they shouldn't be walking around school talking about, well, I can't go in the boys or girls bathroom because I'm gender neutral. No, go to the bathroom that your genitals identify as. okay? So that you're not offending anyone and you're not stirring up any controversy. It really just shouldn't be a lot of complications and a lot of chaos and things to ensue when these situations come up. It just really shouldn't. It shouldn't be handled in ways that stir up the pot so much to the point where then you're drawing a lot of attention. I honestly think it's wrong for them to be public with all this, because that child may change their mind, and then once it's public, how are they going to feel? Are they going to feel embarrassed later on, like my family member did? Are they going to feel a lot of regret? Is that, because that can cause someone to go to suicide levels. Children are to be protected. That is a situation they should have kept private at home for them to deal with, for them to honor and figure out what they're going to do about it. Not for the whole world to see. I get that they feel like they're doing something revolutionary and they want to influence everybody else, and be careful of that. But they think they're doing it for the right reasons, because they understand there are other people out here who may be going through this, so they want other people to be brave enough to understand they're not alone. I get that's the reason why they're doing it. But technically, a child 18 and under, or under 18, should be protected. Their identity should be protected when these kind of things come up. Heck, celebrities shouldn't even be putting their kids out there like that, just regardless if they have any kind of issues going on or not. Protect your children, because in today's time it's social media, and it's not fair that child, they think they're okay with this until later on down the line they may not. If they are, good for them, but it's not a guarantee. It's a 50-50, y'all. It's a coin toss. You don't know until time has passed. So I'll say this, and I'm going to cover another video on another topic, but I'm just going to say this. You guys, please allow time to figure out who you are, to know who you are, and to truly be able to identify. Because once you make that change, or you go so far, or you got everything out there in the public like that, you can't go back and you can't take it back. I done seen too many videos of people who felt transgender. They did the full gender reassignment, hormone change, everything, name change, you name it. And you fast forward a year or 2 or 3 years later, and they regret it. They regret it. And so now they're trying to make the transition back to what they were, and they realize they just should have loved themselves the way God created them, because God don't make mistakes. But like I said, if you feel like God gave you a spiritual challenge that made you different than everybody else, because I do believe that can be true. I do believe there are people out there who really truly feel like their spirit is different than the body that they're in. However, allow time and God to speak to you, for you to know if this is really what it is, if this is really true, and if this is your truth or not. Because things can change, you guys, drastically in a period of time that you don't even realize. Okay, I didn't seen it in real life. I didn't seen it. Go and look up the videos on YouTube, plenty of them, and it breaks my heart when I see people who they've made choices they regret. Hell, if you go get a nose job and you discover, man, I just should have loved myself. You get implants, you discover, I just should have loved myself. You know what I'm saying? Same thing goes for cosmetic surgery. You guys, let your children come into who they are as adults first. And if you're an adult and you're going through this, allow yourself time and analyze on a psychological and a spiritual level. Is this who I really am? Don't be in a rush to be like, I gotta do this now, because it's something you cannot take back once you do it. And it could cause further repercussions down the line. So with that said, I don't have anything against LGBT people. I don't, or the community. Y'all my brothers and sisters too. Do I have different moral values that doesn't align with your lifestyle or your sexuality? And don't come at me for saying lifestyle or choice or anything else, because that's my belief. Your belief is your belief, mine is mine. And you're not going to change it no matter how many times you argue with me. If you want to, try to, share some things with me that you think I'm unaware of, then by all means. And do so respectfully, you guys, because I'm here to have an open conversation with you guys and to share what I know. And I want y'all also, you know, for you LGBT, stop assuming that straight heterosexual people don't know anybody from the LGBT community, or aren't friends with them, or don't have them in their family, or haven't done the research, or don't know anything. Because you guys assume we don't know nothing, because some of you have such a strong agenda because you're so insecure with yourselves. Love yourself regardless, because God still love you. God still love you regardless. You need to love you. Stop looking for acceptance outside of yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because some of you, you're not going to get it sometime. And that doesn't mean you need to argue with everybody. Let people believe what they believe. If you want to enlighten them, enlighten them. But if they still believe what they believe, that's it. You know, but peace, you guys. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think, you know. But I'm walking with God.